No matter where you work, you'll probably need to communicate with other people as part of your day-to-day job. Every organization and every team in that organization will have different expectations for communication. Coming up, we'll learn some practical ways to help you adapt to those different expectations and some things that you can carry over from team to team. Let's get started. When you start at a new job or a new project, you might find yourself feeling a little out of sync with the rest of your team and how they communicate. That's totally normal. You'll figure things out in no time if you're willing to learn as you go and ask questions when you aren't sure of something. For example, if you find your team uses acronyms you aren't familiar with, don't be afraid to ask what they mean. When I first started at Google, I had no idea what TLDR meant, and I was always seeing it at the top of emails. Well, I learned it stands for Too Long Didn't Read, and I use it all the time now if I need to give someone a quick summary at the beginning of a long email. That was one of the many acronyms I've learned, and I come across new ones all the time, so I'm never afraid to ask. Every work setting has some form of etiquette. Maybe your team members appreciate eye contact and a firm handshake, or it might be more polite to bow, especially if you find yourself working with international clients. You might also discover some specific etiquette rules just by watching your coworkers communicate. And it won't just be in-person communications you'll deal with. Almost 300 billion emails are sent and received every day, and that number is only growing. Fortunately, there are useful skills you can learn from those digital communications too. You'll want your emails to be just as professional as your in-person communications. Here are some things that can help you do that. Good writing practices will go a long way to making your emails professional and easy to understand. Emails are naturally more formal than text, but that doesn't mean you have to write the next great novel. Just taking the time to write complete sentences that have a proper spelling and punctuation will make it clear you took the time and consideration in your writing. Emails often get forwarded to other people to read, so write clearly enough so that anyone could understand you. I like to read important emails out loud before I hit send. That way I can hear if they make sense and catch any typos. And keep in mind, the tone of your emails can change over time. If you find that your team is fairly casual, that's great. Once you get to know them better, you can start being more casual too. But being professional is always a good place to start. A good rule of thumb: would you be proud of what you had written if it were published on the front page of a newspaper? If not, revise it until you are. You also don't want your emails to be too long. Think about what your team member needs to know and get to the point instead of overwhelming them with a wall of text. You'll want to make sure that your emails are clear and concise so that they don't get lost in the shuffle. Otherwise, be sure to give them a TLDR. Let's take a quick look at 2 emails so you can see what I mean. Here's the first email. There is so much written here that it's kind of hard to see where the important information is. And this first paragraph doesn't give me a quick summary of the important takeaways. It's pretty casual too. The greeting is just, "Hey," and there's no sign-off. Plus, I can already spot some typos. Now, let's take a look at the second email. Already, it's less overwhelming, right? Just a few sentences telling me what I need to know. It's clearly organized, and there's a polite greeting and sign-off. This is a good example of an email. Short and to the point, polite and well written, all of the things we've been talking about so far. But what do you do if what you need to say is too long for an email? Well, you might want to set up a meeting instead. It's important to answer in a timely manner as well. You don't want to take so long replying to emails that your coworkers start wondering if you're okay. I always try to answer emails in 24 to 48 hours, even if it's just to give them a timeline for when I'll have the actual answers they're looking for. That way, I can set expectations and they know I'm working on it. That works the other way around too. If you need a response on something specific from one of your team members, be clear about what you need and when you need it so that they can get back to you. I'll even include a date in my subject line and bold dates in the body of my email so it's really clear. Remember, being clear about your need is a big part of being a good communicator. We covered some great ways to improve our professional communication skills, like asking questions, practicing good writing habits, and some email tips and tricks. These will help you communicate clearly and effectively with your team members on any project. It might take some time, but you'll find a communication style that works for you and your team, both in person and online. As long as you're willing to learn, you won't have any problems adapting to different communication expectations you'll see in future jobs.